Hi. Okay, so I'm back and Edna's head is done with her soft bake and she's completely cooled off. So this is what she looks like so far. See, she's pretty hard. Okay, so now we are going to go ahead and clean her up a little bit. So this is the part where we get to work with our acetone. What I do, I just take a little bit and pour it in the cap. I don't know if you can see like how much. So the amount that you won't use all of it, but it's probably the amount that I poured in the cap is about that much. So if you notice, like, let me see. Okay, see those two spots right there? That's where some transfer got on. It's also got some dust flakes in there. That's gonna bug me. Hold on. I'm just clipping that little hairs off because they're sticking out because it'll bug me. It's not working. Okay. All right, so you don't want to use too much acetone because it can, use it too much, it can smear and erode. You're going to just dip your brush in. I'll tilt my screen down. Dip my brush in the cap of acetone. And I'm just going to start rubbing. It will dry fairly quickly. Now, you'll be able to see it's embedded in pretty deep. Also, if you want to clean up your lines, any like fingerprints that you may have left on there, just rub it on there and you'll start to see them fade away. Now, if you need to, because I think I will, take a piece of your sandpaper and just rip a little corner off. And you can also sand a little bit to smooth out. Which I'm doing now. the low grit, it'll sand out, but it won't, like if you use a high grit sandpaper, you'll be able to see like the scratches and everything that the grit leaves behind. So I just go in and wherever I think there might need to be some smoothing out. Just go in. Then I go back in with my paintbrush. I don't know, my screen keeps doing that. Go back in with my paintbrush. With my acetone and clean up. No, I forgot to smooth out the guidelines that I did for you in the middle of her face. So I'm trying to use my acetone to basically what it does, it takes out layers like layers of your clay. A little at a time, so do her nose. There's some fingerprints in there. I'd like her eyes to be more. My daughter's out there singing. So I'm just smoothing everything over right now. Let's see if I can get my husband to fix that. All right. This a little bit more. It may take a little bit of time to get, especially when, like, if you accidentally get like I accidentally got 2 small specks of black clay on the side, those 2 spots that I showed you, and they weren't right on the surface, they're actually embedded. So it may take you a little bit of time to get that out. Just keep working on it. Hey. Sorry, that's Wrigley, my German Shepherd. Go back in with your sandpaper. All right, so I'll show you. So as you can see, it's going. All right, so now that we got that, I showed you how to clean it up a little bit. Where's that acetate back in there? Now I can show you. Here's the blush that I was talking about. Now, if you wanted to give her a little bit of dimension to her face, get some blush on your one of your little paintbrushes, blow excess off right under the glasses, real light. You can start blushing in her cheeks. It would go up past her glasses, so maybe inside a little bit. Same on the other side. Now, when you go out in the sun and you get a little bit of color on your cheeks, naturally goes on your nose as well. So I always put just a little bit. Maybe some on her eyes. Now, if you get any blush that you don't like somewhere, again, you can take some of your acetone, just a little bit. Like, I got some on the white of her eyes that I don't like. So I'm just going to dip the very tip in. And just go over her pupils and her eyes just to get that blush off of there. And also that little where her mouth kind of comes out a little bit, where those creases are that we made. I just want them on her cheeks, so I don't want them on that part of the mouth, so I just brush that off a little bit as well. Put that back in there. I would recommend that you keep your brushes separate. Like this one I use for acetone, the skinny one. This one I use for Bacon Bond or the clay glue. And then this is the one I use for blush. And sides, the one on the sides. All right. So now, oh, I did forget to tell you that with rolling the clay around in your hands and stuff, if you wear a ring, you might want to take it off because the clay can get in there. Now I got some of that. Just want to go around the rim of her glasses to make sure that black pops. Take any blush off that I got on her hair. All right. So now she's got some blush. All right. So if you look at the little hole in the bottom of her neck, I needed to open that back up, which I didn't. Like, we did a soft bake, so it's not completely hard yet. So you might be able to get the smallest ball in there, and you can just kind of stick it in there and still work it a little bit. But it's definitely, you don't want to put the bigger end in because you might actually break it. So what you can do is take a piece of your strip of your sandpaper and roll it into a tube. Stick that in there. I'm just gonna roll it tighter. Stick it in there. And then just do this, and you'll open it back up. We need that hole in there so we're able to stick the neck in there. So, see, open it back up. And then we need to continue doing that. All right. Right, doing that, you definitely want to make sure that you clean off your workspace because there's definitely debris on there from sandpaper and sanded polymer clay. All right. I'm gonna wash my hands. Now we're gonna work on the rest of her hair and then get that baked, and then we'll be done for today. All right, so work with her hair. Now, because all this is baked right now, you can hear it's pretty hard. You don't need to worry about the seam right there because it's all getting covered up by hair. We will be working with the bacon bond. So make sure you get your bacon bond out and the brush that we used for the bacon bond. If you don't use bacon bond, your clay is not going to stick. It may seem like it's going to stick, but it will fall off. So we get back out the black. You may still have a little bit left over, which you can use that as well. Just take a chunk off that. We look at a reference picture. We need to build on the back of her head. So if you get into, if you keep doing this, these little scraps like this right here, don't throw those away, or like this little piece of pink that you might not use. Don't throw them away. I keep them like right here. I keep all my scraps because for something like this, if you look at her hair at the underneath, you can see that it's kind of hollow in here. So we need to build on the back of her head to create that hollow in there. You don't need to use your flesh color that we use because it's not going to be seen. So with the scraps, you can use your scraps to build, because like I said, you're not going to see her hair, or you're not going to see her scalp because it's going to be hidden by the hair. So, but for those of you who are just beginning and don't have like scraps of polymer clay, which I'll go ahead and I won't use my scraps. You're just going to use your white. Or you could even use your black, a little bit of black. And I want to save the white because we need a lot of that to build our bases. So like I said, we're going to work this in a little bit. And we're going to start, see, like it won't even stick right now. It just comes right off. So what we're going to do, we're going to add some bacon bond. See where that seam is? We're going to add some bacon bond right there. And the top of her head. We're just going to paint it on. And then we're going to paint it all the way down to about 1/4 of an inch away from the bottom. I'll try to make a, I have this little tool. So I'm going to, about 1/4 of an inch. I'm not going to really be able to see that either. All right. We're going to paint that bacon bond all the way to that line. So about 1/4 of an inch from the bottom. We're not going to go on the sides too much because for right now, because we don't want to go too far and then get it on like the visible part of her face or whatever. We'll take care of that in a minute. Okay. So I painted, you can see it's kind of shiny to where that mark is. Wipe that up. This part, you don't really have to be worry about like if you get dust specks or fingerprints or anything like that. So basically I'm just, if you look at the shape that I'm doing, so that way attach it to the head like this. Now you see it's sticking on there. And you're just gonna mash it down, and you're gonna push it down to where that that line that I made. And if it helps, you can make that line too. So now you've like covered the back of her head. And then we need to build some more. So that's just like your base. Now what we're doing is we're building her head up and out. So how we do that, you just make this piece thicker and kind of like rectangle-like. And you're just gonna stack it right here. So it looks like she's got kind of a big lump on her head. And this is why we baked her head, because I'm pushing on her face. Now, if we would have done that before we baked her head, that would have been a freaking mess. Like, everything would have been smushed. She probably would have looked more like Swamp Thing rather than a person. So we might need to build one more at the bottom. So again, if it helps, you can roll it like this and just pinch it in your fingers to flatten it. To get that shape. That's the shape. That's the width. And we're going to put it down here. Just like this. I'm not worried about making the seam totally invisible. I'm just trying to make it so where it's like, there's not a huge like bump or a big difference in where the two pieces of clay meet. Because if you roll your clay thin, and I have a tendency to roll my clay thin sometimes, you'll be able to tell where like that there's a bump there. So now you could have done this with when you were building her head. You could have built her head this shape. And I do that sometimes, but for me, I find that when I do it like that way, I squish the head more. So I just start off with a ball, and then once I get the face or the base of the head done, I go back and I use Bacon Bond and I use clay to build up. Just because it's easier for me that way, I guess. So now you can see, like, she's got that big bump on the back of her head. So now what we can do is we can get started on her hair. There it is. Right, so we're going to work. So we'll use that black. All right. Okay, now got a ball. Roll it out just a little bit. If you look at her picture, you can tell that her hair is kind of thick. So we will just this. If you want to put your thickness guides on, I would go with the red. This is just me personally. Okay, so we got her hair like this. We want to essentially make it a square. All right. So her hair goes just below the neck. What we're gonna do is add it. We're just gonna wrap it around, kind of like, I don't know, kind of like a helmet, I guess. Now you see right there we didn't put any bacon bond right there. So, and I said we would take care of that later, but we got most of her hair on. We want to make sure that this part sticks. So I put it on the actual piece that we're putting on right now. Because if you put it on this piece right here, you might actually get it like on her face, or what, you're just like pretty much guessing where it goes. Actually, what we're gonna do, because her hair kind of like curves around, we're gonna take this piece and we're actually going to try to tuck it. Same way with over here. So far. basically building like a little helmet, I guess. So here we want to try to keep this kind of, I guess, quote unquote, trimmed up. Actually, I'm going to push this forward to meet with her bangs. That side's already met. Okay. So now, with the back of her head, with all that clay that we just added, it's not as hard. Like you still can smush, so still be careful or gentle. But it's remember, most of her head is already baked, so you want to get it to the. But you can still see the seams, right? So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go in, add a little bit of cornstarch to where her seams are on her hair. We're gonna take one of the medium-sized ball tools, and we're just gonna start smoothing over your seams. Like, just start rubbing it in, and your seams will start to go away. Now, you'll be able to see like where you've rubbed, but you don't have to worry about that. We'll take care of that in a minute. Now, as you go, you want to like look at the bottom of her hair and make sure you're not distorting it, because you want it to basically stay in. She basically has like a flat cut all the way around. So as you're working on the seams, getting those erased out of there or rubbed out of there, watch her hair, her trim line on her hair. And you will be able to do this on, kind of feather it into the clay that's already been baked as well. Just use your finger to smooth it. Like that. Okay. You'll see her hair. If you look at her, you've noticed like start stretching. So if you just check on it every once in a while, and then just reshape, push up if it's gotten too long, maybe give it a little tug or whatever, because you essentially want her hair away from if you've got it to where it's like you might need to get one of your tools in there and just give it a nudge and push it back out. Okay. A little bit more cornstarch. front. You don't have to worry about it sitting on there because, like I said, if we need to, we can go back in with acetone. Start feathering. Now, if you look at other pictures of Edna, to add more detail to her hair, you're going to take, I like using this tool, and we're just going to basically, with the tip, run, actually it might be with this one. Run lines down, or to create the creases in your hair. If you have a thicker sewing needle, like an embroidery needle, or you could even use, you have toothpicks. Toothpicks are a great tool. Get that point in there. You don't have to mash it in, but just make the lines in her hair. Try to go like again, make sure her hair is staying in that straight line. You don't even have to drag it down. You can just make like indentations. Yeah, go ahead. Okay, and so basically, here's her head. Now, if you want, you can, right now it looks like her bob is kind of flipped out. I want it to actually flip in. So I'm just taking my, looks like the flathead screwdriver, and I'm wedging it under her flap, and then kind of and pushing out. Now, we pop her head back in the oven. Make sure that everything is how you want it before you do that, because once you cook her head again, everything will be set. So, this is what her side profile looks like. Her face, the back, and then the underneath. So, when you pop her back in the oven, me personally, I'm just making sure her hair is how I want it. I would pop her in upside down like that, because if you set her this way, it might distort the bottom of her hair. So I'm going to do that, and remember, like I said before, when you pop her in the oven, you're going to do a soft bake, which right now we are baking at, the package suggests 275. At a soft bake, I would do 200 and cook for 10 minutes, and you should be good. Cook her upside down, and then don't mess with her until she is completely cooled off. And when she's cooled off, if there's anything that you'd like to, if there was any like specks in there that you wanted to get out, or there's any thing that you need to touch up or clean up on that you want to use your acetone for, you go ahead and do that. And then I will see you on day 3. Oh, and for today's project, since we're done, if you want to just take a picture of your completed head and put it in the post, that'll be for today's post for the giveaway at the end. So thank you for joining us on day 2, and I will see you on day 3.